Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura and I am joined by my husband Chris today, who is a huge inspiration to me and my biggest support system, my biggest motivation for getting healthy and maintaining this healthy lifestyle. And I wanted to share today, he has an incredible journey, an incredible story of reversing his severe type 2 diabetes. And we want to break down the 3 things that he did in order to do that. About 11 years ago, Chris was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and he had some severe insulin resistance. And his diabetes caused so much metabolic damage, it almost took his life. I have other videos on this channel where we go in depth about the personal side of that story. But in this video, we want to break down the 3 things that he did in order to reverse that and age gracefully and maintain this active, healthy lifestyle for our family. Before we go any further, I want to take a second and let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Element is an electrolyte drink mix that's sodium based. There is so much growing research showing that we actually need 2 to 3 times the amount of sodium that is in the government regulations. Our bodies need that sodium to be hydrated, to prevent muscle cramps, fatigue, the brain fog that some people can get. I typically drink 1 packet of their unflavored electrolytes every day, which is 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. And that's it. No other junk, no fillers, no gluten, no sugar, nothing. In the middle of the summer, when I'm sweating more and the temperatures are rising, I typically add a 2nd packet. And I love the grapefruit flavor, which is sweetened with stevia.
My favorite flavor is the citrus. I typically drink 1 to 2 packs a day, depending on how active I am or how hot it is, how much sweating I'm doing throughout the day.
Element has a deal for all my subscribers where with any drink mix purchase, you can get a free sample pack of all their flavors and see which one you like best. You can go to drinkelement.com/LAURAESPATH. They have a 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked refund, and yet they have very little returns and a super high reorder rate. So it's definitely a fan favorite and I know you guys love it. So thank you to Element for sponsoring this video. Break down for them what your health was like before we started this journey.
So about 6 years ago, when I was full-blown type 2 diabetic, I was over 300 pounds. My A1C was 11.6. And my doctor was on the verge of sending me to an endocrinologist to get put on insulin shots.
You were already on metformin and glyburide before, when your A1C was still that high.
Right, so with metformin and glyburide, my A1C was still 11.6. I was pretty uncontrolled. I wasn't doing a lot, honestly, dietarily or in any other aspect of my life to make things any better. But it really scared me and woke me up when my doctor said they were gonna send me to get put on insulin. So I said, give me 3 months, doc. I decided to do some research, learned a lot about what causes type 2 diabetes and ways you can mitigate that and do it naturally without having to take insulin shots or even medication eventually. And I started to implement those processes, and it was 3 big factors that are really involved in reversing that insulin resistance in type 2 diabetes.
Obviously, we are not doctors. We just want to share our personal story and the steps Chris took to reverse his diabetes. And as a side note, my mom in her 60s went through the same steps that Chris did in order to reverse her diabetes and was also successful and was able to get off of all her medication. So this is something that we have seen and heard about through this community over and over and over again, but it's something that you have to do your own research about.
So I want to briefly share the mechanism of what's causing type 2 diabetes. And essentially what that is you've become over fat in a sense. So your fat cells cannot expand anymore, or your body cannot add any more fat cells, so it has nowhere else to put that energy. So all of that glucose spills into your bloodstream. Glucose and triglycerides, so fat and sugar are flooding through your blood system and your body doesn't know what to do with it. So you're going to have all kinds of metabolic problems.
You often hear that described as the personal fat threshold. It's why somebody could be 170 pounds and be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And myself, I was 263 pounds and I was only pre-diabetic. Your genetics are going to determine essentially how fat you can get before your body starts storing that fat internally, which then would cause the diabetes.
So knowing that, what we have to do to reverse the type 2 diabetes is to bring those levels of fat down, to empty out those fat cells. And of course that sounds simple, just lose weight. And yeah, there's something to that, that you can lose weight on any diet, doing any way, and your type 2 diabetes, your metabolic syndrome, and your insulin resistance are going to improve over time. But we wanted to fully reverse that, and I wanted to do that as quickly as possible to provide the best longevity for me in my life. So the first thing when we're thinking about that is glucose, right? Sugar. We're putting sugar in our body. So the number one thing we're going to do is we're going to address that, right? So what we eat. So number one would be food. We're not going to put sugar in our body anymore. And sugar is not just candy and cupcakes and white sugar. It's also bread and pasta and potatoes. So we're going to cut the carbs down. I chose to do a carnivore diet. Not everybody has to do that, but cutting the carbs down is going to be essential, especially right away.
That also includes things like fruit. Your body doesn't understand if you're eating an apple or you're eating a Snicker bar. Your body is going to metabolize that fruit in the same way. And if you're insulin resistant and you're type 2 diabetic, it is really important that you cut out any and all forms of sugar, whether it's considered natural or not, in order to reverse that high insulin resistance and your high glucose.
Another thing that's going to happen when you're not eating as many carbs is that's going to help your appetite control, which is going to help you not overeat as much, which is going to have all kinds of positives downstream from there, right? So your hunger is driven a lot by insulin, and the insulin spikes and insulin roller coasters when you're eating a lot of sugar and carbs, especially for somebody who's insulin resistant or type 2 diabetic, are really hard to control. It makes it impossible not to overeat. So with your blood sugar coming a little more in line and you're not overeating and you're not putting all that sugar in your system, things are going to start to improve. Now that brings to the next thing that we're going to look at, which is exercise. Now, you don't have to be beast mode, running 24 miles all the time, but the one thing that I did was I added a long walk every day. Low intensity cardio exercise that just burns energy. So once we've got the diet in check, and we're starting to bring down those sugar levels that way, we want to burn the excess off. We want to burn some of that fat, for energy throughout the day. So every day I would take a 45-minute to an hour walk, just brisk walk, just to continue to burn that down. And what's happening during this time is that glycogen that's inside your muscles and inside of your organs, more importantly, your body has to get rid of it, right? So you're not eating all the sugar, so it's got to make the sugar. So it's converting all those fatty acids into glucose, and it's burning it off, and you're clearing your liver out of all those problems.
Even adding something like a 10 or 15-minute brisk walk after every meal or when you eat can really help to minimize that glucose spike that you're experiencing and help to stabilize your blood sugar.
And if you're capable, high-intensity exercise like sprinting or lifting weights, CrossFit, something like that, is really going to deplete that glycogen very fast and get you results even faster.
That's not something that either one of us could have incorporated early on. No. I was recovering from a knee surgery. Chris and I were both just not in a place physically where we can incorporate that. So in order to reverse his diabetes, the exercise that he was doing at the time was just those long walks like he mentioned.
Just a walk.
And the third thing that was crucial in Chris and my mom reversing their type 2 diabetes was incorporating fasting. This is another way that you can burn off a lot of that stored glycogen and really attack the fat that's built up in your organs and deep in your liver that's causing the type 2 diabetes and the insulin resistance.
So when I first started, I started an intermittent fasting regime where I was eating 2 meals a day within about 4 or 5 hours of each other. And I'm somebody that can eat a lot, so it was really easy for me to go to 1 meal a day, which I could eat a ton of food and get really stuffed. And then I would fast for 24 hours, 23 and a half hours, and then I started incorporating longer fasts, 36, 48, even a couple 72 hours here and there. I think that it's important for somebody trying to reverse type 2 diabetes, at least to do it on a quicker timeline, would be to have a few longer fasts here and there. It doesn't have to be all the time, but 48 to 72 hours over every couple weeks or something like that, you'd see your results happen much faster.
If you're carnivore, if you're keto, you're keeping your carbs very low and you're exercising, but you're not seeing that baseline glucose come down, incorporating fasting is something that can make the biggest impact. My mom was carnivore, strict carnivore for 6 months, and she was walking daily, and she could not get her A1C and her glucose levels down into normal range at baseline until she began incorporating 36 hours or 48-hour fast once or twice a week. And as soon as she did that, she immediately saw a result, was able to finally get off her medication, and that A1C came back down to normal.
I often get asked, how long did it take? When did you get off the medications? We're not doctors, so I'm not going to tell you when you should or shouldn't get off your medications. But I will say that I checked my blood glucose every day, and within about 2 or 3 weeks, my readings in the morning were in the 90s, were pretty good, and I was still taking the metformin. I stopped taking that metformin, and my blood glucose continued to only improve over time. So it was relatively quick for me. I would say within a month, I was on no medications, and my blood sugar post-prandial after a meal was normal.
He had been diabetic for only a few years at this point. My mom, it took her longer. She had been diabetic and on medications for many more years than him, and she had accumulated more metabolic damage. So the amount of time and damage that has been done to your body is going to determine the amount of time that it takes to reverse those things. But the steps for both of them were the same.
Right, a lot of things are happening in the pancreas when somebody's type 2 diabetic as far as the insulin production. That organ gets fatigued from having to produce so much insulin to overcompensate for the excess glucose. So a lot of times it doesn't produce the cells correctly and things like that. And that could take quite some time to repair.
Like I said earlier, there's a lot of more videos on this channel that really break down what we were eating, Chris's story, my mom's story, there's interviews with her. And then if you want even more content than that, you can come find both of us on Locals. We post there every day. Chris hangs out and shares, and we do live streams every week. And you can come join a community of people who are all looking to improve their health just like you. Thanks for watching. Thanks, babe.